You have been surrendering your power in small, invisible ways for years. Not through dramatic failure, but through reaction. Every time you answered someone who was trying to provoke you. Every time you defended yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Every time you allowed someone's chaos to enter your mind and rearrange your peace. You thought you were standing up for yourself. In reality, you were handing over pieces of control. Power is not lost in grand gestures, it leaks through attention. Most people live in a state of constant response. Someone criticizes them, they fire back. Someone doubts them, they explain. Someone disrespects them, they argue. They believe engagement equals strength. They believe silence equals weakness. But those who truly understand influence move differently. They do not rush to answer. They do not scramble to clarify. They do not grant access to everyone who knocks. Machiavellian intelligence begins with one realization. Your attention is currency. Wherever you place it, you invest yourself. And like money, if you scatter it carelessly, you impoverish your own position. Every insult you reply to is a transaction. Every pointless debate you enter is a withdrawal. Every attempt to prove yourself to someone who has already judged you is a loss. And the tragic part is this. The people draining you rarely offer anything of equal value in return. They take your focus, your emotion, your time. You gain stress. Those who operate from strength build filters. Not everyone receives a response. Not everyone deserves explanation. Not everyone earns access. Before they give attention, they ask a simple question. Does this move my life forward or pull me sideways? If the answer is sideways, they remain silent. Silence is not passivity. It is controlled refusal. When someone attempts to provoke you and you respond immediately, you confirm that they can move you. When you defend yourself aggressively, you reveal where you are sensitive. When you explain repeatedly, you expose what you fear losing. Information is leverage, and every word you release can become ammunition in someone else's hands. But silence gives nothing away. When you do not answer, uncertainty begins working for you. The person who expected reaction is left alone with their own thoughts. Did you see it? Did it matter? Do you care? The absence of closure unsettles them more deeply than any clever comeback ever could. You remain composed. They remain questioning. This is not cruelty. It is discipline. There are moments when your voice must be used. But those moments should be deliberate, not emotional. Strategic, not impulsive. When you speak rarely, your words carry weight. When you respond selectively, your presence feels earned. When you remain composed in situations designed to shake you, you communicate control without saying it. Now understand something deeper. Silence is only powerful when it comes from internal stability. If you are silent but internally raging, you are still controlled. Real power is indifference born from clarity. You know who you are. You know your direction. You know your value. Therefore, you do not need constant engagement to validate it. Strategic withdrawal is the next evolution. Not disappearance, not isolation. Withdrawal. There is a difference. Total disappearance removes you from the field. Strategic withdrawal keeps you present but unpredictable. Sometimes you respond quickly. Sometimes you do not. Sometimes you engage fully. Sometimes you step back. Your presence becomes conditional, not guaranteed. Predictability invites control. Uncertainty commands respect. When people cannot anticipate your reactions, they move carefully around you. When they cannot rely on immediate access to your attention, they value it more. Scarcity alters perception. If you are always available, you are assumed. If you are selectively available, you are considered. This applies everywhere, in work, in friendship, in competition. The person who drops everything for everyone becomes an option. The person who manages their presence becomes a priority. You do not vanish. You calibrate. You show up on your terms. You engage when it aligns with your direction. You detach when it does not. This balance creates magnetism, not because you are playing games, but because you are not easily accessed. And when people feel your absence more than your argument, you have already shifted the power. This is the foundation. Guard attention. Use silence. Withdraw strategically. These are not tricks. They are disciplines, and once practiced consistently, they reshape how the world experiences you. From reactive to deliberate, from accessible to selective, from controlled to untouchable. Ignoring is not laziness. It is psychological positioning. Human beings crave acknowledgement. We are wired for response. When we speak, we expect an echo. When we act, we expect a reaction. Remove that reaction, and the mind begins to fracture under its own need for closure. This is why ignoring, when used correctly, destabilizes people more than confrontation ever could. If someone insults you and you argue, they feel relevant. If someone spreads rumors and you defend yourself, they feel influential. Even negative engagement confirms that they matter enough to affect you. Engagement feeds their sense of impact, but indifference erases them. When you do not respond, you deny them psychological reward. No validation, no reaction, no visible effect. They are left alone with their own aggression and no mirror reflecting it back. And the human mind despises unresolved tension. It searches for answers, it replays conversations, it invents narratives to explain your silence. Meanwhile, you have moved on. This is the imbalance. They are thinking about you. You are not thinking about them. That asymmetry is power. But this discipline requires control. Many attempt to ignore while secretly checking, secretly hoping the other person notices their silence. That is not indifference. That is delayed reaction. True ignoring comes from detachment. You genuinely remove the person from your mental landscape. There are categories of individuals who must be erased without ceremony. First, those who operate with open hostility. The ones who sabotage, distort, undermine. Engaging them gives them visibility. Fighting them gives them a stage. The strongest response is sustained success. Let your consistency expose their bitterness. Let your stability contrast their chaos. Over time, people recognize patterns. You do not need to narrate the difference. Second, the perpetual critic. These individuals produce nothing yet analyze everything. Their identity depends on finding fault. If you argue, you elevate them. If you defend, you legitimize them. But when you remain silent and continue producing results, their commentary becomes background noise. Success does not debate, it outgrows. Third and most dangerous, the energy parasite. These are not obvious enemies. They appear supportive, concerned, connected, yet every interaction leaves you drained. They bring endless crises, endless emotional turbulence, endless need. They rarely improve, because improvement would remove their access to your attention. These individuals do not need confrontation. They require distance. Distance without drama. Reduce responses. Shorten conversations. Limit access. Observe who adjusts and who grows resentful. Those who respect boundaries remain. Those who depended on your overextension disappear. You are not obligated to exhaust yourself proving loyalty to those who consume you. Now understand the armor that makes this sustainable. Indifference. Indifference is not coldness. It is selective emotional investment. It is the refusal to allow external noise to dictate internal state. Most people live as emotional hostages. A comment ruins their mood. A misunderstanding consumes their day. A slight alters their trajectory. They are controlled not by chains but by reactions. Emotional triggers reveal leverage points. If being called incompetent provokes you into lengthy defense, that word controls you. If being misunderstood compels you to over-explain, that perception controls you. If disrespect ignites anger every time, that disrespect owns you. To become untouchable, you must study your triggers. Ask yourself what destabilizes you. Where do you feel the urge to prove, to justify, to retaliate? That urge marks vulnerability, and vulnerability, when visible, invites manipulation. Strengthening emotional armor means removing automatic reactions. Someone labels you lazily. You evaluate internally. If it is untrue, it requires no response. If it is true, you correct the behavior privately. Neither scenario demands emotional display. Someone misinterprets your intentions. Accept that perception is outside your control. Clarify once if necessary. If misunderstanding persists, withdraw. You are not required to persuade the unwilling. Someone disrespects you. Their behavior reflects their discipline, not your worth. Address directly if appropriate. If it continues, limit exposure. Anger is rarely required. Indifference is the quiet refusal to allow trivial forces to dictate meaningful movement. And here is the transformation. When others realize they cannot provoke you, they become cautious. When they cannot predict your emotional responses, they lose leverage. When their tactics fail repeatedly, they either adjust or retreat. You do not need to intimidate. You need to be unmoved. This does not mean suppressing feeling, it means managing it privately. Emotion becomes data, not directive. You feel, you process, you decide. Reaction becomes response. Response becomes choice, and choice restores authority. Once indifference is practiced consistently, your presence changes. You appear steady, composed, unreadable in moments designed to extract reaction. This composure unsettles those accustomed to control through chaos. They test you less, they respect you more, or they remove themselves. Either outcome benefits you, because when nothing external dictates your internal climate, you reclaim the one territory that matters most, your mind. And from there, every interaction shifts. The final evolution of power is not confrontation, it is calculated inaction. Most people believe dominance requires constant motion, constant proving, constant engagement. They think winning means fighting every rumor, correcting every lie, responding to every challenge. They exhaust themselves in battles that never needed to be fought. But the highest level of control is knowing when to do nothing. Inaction is not weakness when it is chosen. It is restraint sharpened into strategy. Consider a situation where someone spreads rumors about you. The instinctive reaction is panic. You want to correct the story. You want to call out the lie. You want to manage perception immediately. That urgency is emotional. An emotional urgency often hands control to the aggressor. Instead, you remain steady. You continue producing results. You continue behaving consistently. You allow time to expose contradiction. The people who know your character remain unmoved. The people who believe the rumor were never truly aligned with you. The lie eventually collapses under the weight of your visible reality. You spent no energy defending yourself. That is leverage. Or consider competition. Someone mimics your style, copies your language, tries to outshine you. The insecure version of you reacts, changes approach, speeds up, acknowledges the rivalry. But acknowledgement validates their attempt. Calculated inaction ignores the race entirely. You remain focused on your trajectory. You refine quietly. You innovate without reference to them. While they monitor you, you move beyond them. They are playing catch-up in a game you are not participating in. Over time, distance becomes obvious, not because you attacked them, Because you refuse to descend. Inaction conserves energy. Energy conserved becomes momentum. Momentum compounds. This discipline transforms social dynamics. When you do not respond predictably, people become uncertain. When you do not engage in trivial battles, you become difficult to categorize. When you decline invitations into drama, your presence feels elevated. You attract attention without chasing it. You command respect without requesting it. Absence becomes influence. Your silence becomes story. Rooms discuss you not because you demanded focus, but because your composure disrupts expectation. People replay your restraint in their minds. They interpret your lack of reaction as confidence, as control, as strength. And often, perception becomes reality. While others burn themselves in arguments, you build quietly. While they seek validation, you refine skill. While they defend ego, you expand competence. The distance between you grows not through aggression, but through discipline. This is ascension through non-participation. You do not climb over others. You simply refuse to engage in games beneath your trajectory. There is one more layer. Calculated inaction requires patience. It requires comfort with delayed gratification. You may not receive immediate vindication. You may not witness immediate collapse of opposition. But over time, patterns reveal themselves. Consistency defeats chaos. Stability defeats rumor. Competence defeats criticism. Your task is to remain aligned with your long-term direction, not short-term emotional impulse. When you master this, something subtle changes in how others approach you. They hesitate before attempting manipulation. They reconsider before initiating conflict. They realize reaction is unlikely, and without reaction, many lose interest. You become the person who cannot be baited. You become the person who cannot be rushed. You become the person who cannot be cornered. Untouchable does not mean isolated. It means internally anchored. From this anchor, attention is guarded, silence is sharpened, withdrawal is strategic, ignoring is intentional. Indifference is practiced, inaction is calculated. These are not tricks. They are habits of disciplined perception. Applied consistently, they alter your trajectory. People begin to treat you with caution. Not fear born of threat, but respect born of composure. They understand that access to you is conditional, that reaction from you is rare, that your focus is reserved for what advances you. You are no longer reactive. You are selective. You are no longer chasing. You are filtering. You are no longer explaining. You are demonstrating. And this shift changes everything. Because once you stop giving away your power in small, careless reactions, you begin accumulating it. Quietly, steadily, strategically. Power does not need applause. It needs control. And control begins the moment you decide that not every voice deserves your attention. Not every challenge deserves your response, and not every battle deserves your presence. When you internalize that, the world interacts with you differently. Not because you forced it, because you finally stopped reacting to it.